The Tales of the Supernatural, Abyss of Horrors, Part 3, Dongsheng Mine. My middle school classmate, Liu Gang, worked at the mine. He told me many strange things that happened underground, but what left the deepest impression on me was the bizarre death of his boss, Old Wu. Because Liu Gang had encountered several strange incidents underground, Wu Dacheng took good care of him. So Liu Gang pulled some strings and transferred to Wu Dacheng's team. He couldn't quite say why. Perhaps it was because Wu Dacheng was experienced and made him feel safe. On the day of the incident, they went to work as usual, descending into the mine. As they worked, the noise was quite loud, so they mostly kept to themselves, not talking much. The tunnel they were working in had just been opened, and Wu Dacheng was leading them and expanding the work area. But as they worked, Wu Dacheng suddenly let out a cry of surprise. Liu Gang and the other workers quickly gathered to see what had happened. How could it be empty inside? It turned out that Wu Dacheng had drilled a hole while working, but the other side of the hole was empty. There was only this one mine in the area, and it couldn't have possibly connected to any other shafts. They couldn't see clearly what was inside the opening. The dark hole was exhaling cold air, mixed with a foul, fishy smell. Where does this lead? Wu Dacheng was very familiar with this mine shaft. He didn't recall there being any other tunnels on that side. Brother Wu, be careful. To figure out what was on the other side, Wu Dacheng leaned into the hole. He had initially thought it was an old tunnel that had been broken through, but upon leaning in, he saw it was not a tunnel at all. Instead, it was a massive, bottomless pit. Wu Dacheng clung to the opening, peering down using the light from his headlamp. But the headlamp's illumination was limited, and he couldn't see the bottom at all. Bring all the helmets over, tie them to a rope and lower them down to see. The more mysterious it seemed, the more curious they became. Wu Dacheng suggested tying the helmets to a rope and lowering them to the bottom of the pit to see what was inside. Early, go get the rope. The others thought it was a good idea, so they found some rope and tied several helmets together. Wu Dacheng tested the knot, confirming it was secure, then lowered the rope along the side of the hole. The rope extended for more than 10 meters. But still didn't reach the bottom. It wasn't until they had extended the rope about 70 or 80 meters that it finally hit the bottom. With the light from the headlamps, they looked down and were scared half to death. At the bottom of the dark hole, they saw countless bodies, submerged in dark red bloody water, looking like hell itself. My goodness, how can there be so many dead bodies here? Wu Dacheng had experienced several mining accidents, but he had never seen so many bodies piled together like this. Could they be victims of a mining accident? Even if it were a mining accident, how could they all have died in such a way? But the more they thought about it, although Dongsheng Mine had experienced several accidents, the casualties had always been handled and accounted for. It was impossible for them all to be piled up in such a deep mine shaft. Let's go report it to Old Wu. Early was timid and utterly terrified by this sight, so he wanted to go up and report the matter to their boss, Old Wu. No, if these are really our fellow miners who died in an accident and we've discovered them, Old Wu won't let us off the hook. Brother Wu, what should we do? We'll listen to you. But Wu Dacheng didn't see it that way. He knew Old Wu's character. If they had discovered hidden casualties from a mining accident, they would certainly be in deep trouble. Let's hook one of the bodies up here to take a closer look, and also to have evidence. After discussing, they decided to retrieve a body from the pit to see if it was one of the miners. If it was, they would hide it and keep it as evidence in case Old Wu had tried to conceal something. No sooner said than done. Early found a hook and tied it to the end of the rope. It's hooked! Pull hard! Wu Dacheng lowered the hook to the bottom of the pit, caught a body, and called for Liu Gang and Early to help pull it up. Pull! It's coming up! The three of them pulled together, hoisting the hooked body upwards. What surprised them was that, judging by its size, the body should have been quite heavy, but it didn't feel very heavy when they pulled it up. "Liu Gang, steady it on your side." The body was pulled up, and they carefully placed it on the ground. This isn't a human. But upon closer inspection, the three of them realized that what they had pulled up was not a human body. They had no idea what it was. It was shaped like a human, even having facial features and limbs. From a distance, anyone would have mistaken it for a corpse. What exactly is this? Like stone, yet like wood. Wu Dacheng was brave. He squatted down, patting and feeling the humanoid body, but couldn't discern what it was. He pinched a protrusion, and with a slight effort, broke off a piece. What on earth is this? It looks so much like a human. When squeezed in hand, it had a slight elasticity. None of them had ever seen or heard of such a thing. They had no idea what it was. "I'll stay here and watch. You two go find old Wu." They finally decided that Wu Dacheng would stand guard while Liu Gang and Airly went up to the surface to report to old Wu. The news that a mass grave had been dug up underground reached not only old Wu, but everyone at the mine. Don't you think this is a bad omen? Who knows? Let's go see. For a moment, everyone rushed down into the mine, eager to witness this strange sight. How can these look exactly like humans? There are so many, maybe hundreds. What on earth are these things? The hole Wu Dacheng had broken through had already been expanded, and dozens of people were jostling to peer inside. Someone brought in electric wires and lowered several lights, illuminating the bottom of the pit brightly. At the bottom of the pit, in the dark red liquid, there were at least 100 humanoid figures submerged, a sight that made it hard to breathe and set chills down their spines. Could it be a burial pit from an ancient tomb, like they talk about on TV? Didn't you see the one we pulled up? It wasn't human at all, and there couldn't be an ancient tomb here anyway. Everyone speculated about what it could be, but after much debate, no one could figure out what they were. How do these resemble the legendary mine boils? Uncle Chi, a general worker at the mine, also came down to watch. Uncle Chi had spent his entire life working in mines. His voice trembling, he said that the things at the bottom of the pit looked like the legendary mine boils. Mine boils. What are mine boils? Uncle Chi, tell us quickly. Hearing that Uncle Chi knew something about it, everyone gathered around him, urging him to explain. These things are called mine boils. They're both a curse and a prophecy. However many mine boils are in the pit, that's how many people will die at this mine. Uncle Chi said he had heard it from an old miner when he was young. The most terrifying thing about mining was encountering mine boils. Mines with mine boils were always rich, but they demanded lives in return. For every mine boil in the pit, a life would be claimed. Only when enough lives had been taken would the mine be peaceful again. Then everyone at our mine is gonna die? Who knows if it's true or not? Is it really true? Hearing such an ominous prophecy and counting over 100 mine boils in the pit, the entire Dongsheng mine only had about 100 people. If Uncle Chi's words were true, wouldn't they all be wiped out? No way, I need to get my wages from old Wu. I'm quitting. I don't want to lose my life here. Some of the more timid and life-loving miners started shouting that they wanted to get their pay from old Wu and leave. When one person suggested it, many others followed him to old Wu's office. But before they could finish speaking, old Wu's enforcers knocked them to the ground. The contract isn't up yet. No one's getting out of this mine. Old Wu knew about the situation in the pit, and he had heard the rumors, but he didn't take them seriously. Anything could happen underground, and after years of mining, he was long accustomed to strange occurrences. Listen up, all of you. Anyone who dares to spread rumors and block my path to wealth, I won't stand for it. Yes, boss. Gelong, tell the demolition crew to prepare extra explosives for tomorrow morning. I want that pit blown up." Old Wu, with a fake smile, laid down his harsh words, ordering the miners to work diligently. Then he instructed his subordinates to tell the demolition crew to prepare extra explosives and blow up the hole first thing the next morning. When Old Wu showed his power, everyone was scared. With his enforcers watching, they abandoned their thoughts of leaving, hoping that Old Wu could resolve the situation. "Why don't we go in and check? Didn't he say he'd blast the pit? Why isn't he out yet? Yeah, look at the time." Early the next morning, the demolition crew prepared their explosives and waited outside Old Wu's door. But no matter how long they waited, he didn't come out. Finally, they decided to go in and call for him. "Come on, let's go in and see." In truth, everyone was very afraid of Old Wu and dared not approach him unless necessary. 2 members of the demolition crew knocked a few times. When there was no answer, they pushed the door open and went inside. But Old Wu wasn't in the room at all. "Did anyone see Boss Wu this morning?" I think I saw him last night." One of the demolition crew members asked if anyone had seen where Old Wu went. One miner stepped forward and said he had seen Old Wu during the night, but wasn't sure. "Last night, I got up to use the restroom and dimly saw Boss Wu walking alone into the mine shaft." He said that when he got up to go to the bathroom during the night, he vaguely saw Old Wu walking alone into the mine shaft. Moreover, Old Wu's expression was as if he were sleepwalking. But when he finished urinating, pulled up his pants and looked back, Old Wu was already gone. He thought he had mistakenly seen things in his groggy state, so he didn't give it much thought and went back to sleep. Everyone present found his story very strange. Everyone at the mine knew Old Wu never went underground, so how could he walk into the mine shaft alone in the middle of the night, connecting this with what he said about Old Wu being disoriented? Everyone rushed towards the mine shaft. They ran to the deep hole, and looking down, they were all stunned. Old Wu was dead in the deep hole, his eyes wide open and his mouth agape, as if he had seen something utterly terrifying. The boss was dead, so they couldn't work anymore. The miners all rumored that Old Wu was the first life claimed by the mine boils, and they didn't know how many more lives would be taken after this. Not long after Old Wu's death, another boss took over the Dongsheng mine and dismissed all the previous miners. As Liu Gang and the others left, they saw a truckload of pigs being brought to the mine. The pigs were herded into the mine shaft. The rest of what happened I only heard about. Liu Gang had only heard about the subsequent events. It was said that the new boss used those pigs for sacrifice, and indeed, that new boss became very wealthy from that mine. You can't handle this. The story was finished. Liu Gang had also returned to his hometown because he couldn't find work anymore. That day, both of us drank ourselves into a stupor and slept at the small restaurant. Later, Liu Gang found a job as a security guard. Since it was a night shift, he encountered quite a few strange things. As he put it, unlucky people see more ghosts than anyone else.